My name is John Skarukis, and today I'm going to show you how to make domadas. I must warn you, I do it in large proportion. This meal will approximately feed about 8 to 10 people. Reason being is my parents own a restaurant and I'm used to cooking in large proportions. And I do have a big family with a big appetite, and they do love these domadas. Now, these domadas are going to be made with cabbage leaves. You can use grape leaves if you like. I'm going to run down the ingredients with you real quick. For ingredients for domadas, you're going to need 5 lemons, 4 large heads of green cabbage, some Uncle Ben's rice, 4 containers of chicken broth, 1 dozen of eggs, 3 bunches of scallions or green onions, sea salt, coarse ground pepper, mint, dill, and parsley. And of course olive oil and a large kettle, food processor, 5 pounds of ground chuck. You can use lamb if you like. So now we went through the ingredients and what we need to make domadas. I like to start with the filling first. So we start off with our olive oil, and like I said, I cook in large portion. These are commercial spoons that you find in the restaurants, same as my casserola, my kettle. So, I like to use 4 large of these spoons of olive oil. Okay. So, now we have our olive oil. And it can be regular olive oil or extra virgin. I like the full flavor of olive oil in cooking. Kind of brings out the flavor. Now, like I said, I cook in large portion. I'm going to start with the dill weed. This is McCormick's. You can find this in any grocery store. It's just dill weed. Now, I just pour the whole thing in there. The whole thing in there. That's 1. And we're going to go right down the line. 1, and these are all dry herbs. You can use fresh if you like. Parsley, 1 whole container. Mint, 1 whole bottle of that container. Okay, now, got 5 pounds of hamburger. Before we put that in, set the hamburger here. We're going to need eggs. We're going to use 4 eggs in this. We're going to use the whole dozen because we have to make the egg alemano sauce, or the sauce that we have to make of alemano sauce. So we're going to use 4 eggs. Three, 4. Now we got 4 eggs. Set that aside. And what I like to do is mix that ingredients, get the wet ingredients, kind of absorb some of the oil and the eggs. So we'll mix that really well. We'll add salt and pepper. So that's all mixed well. I use sea salt. I'll measure it with my spoon, roughly what we need. It'll probably be about a half a tablespoon to this recipe of salt. And this is Mediterranean sea salt. I rather use sea salt because it has a lot of minerals in it that the body needs. Table salt does not have that, and it's better for you. So use sea salt. Now, I also will use some coarse ground pepper. You can use McCormick's black pepper. We'll use probably approximately about another half. I like it a little bit peppery, so it'll be probably about a tablespoon with this recipe. About a tablespoon. And that's quite a bit of pepper. I'll post the link with all the ingredients for the filling. But like I said, I put in mint, parsley, and dill. 1 bottle of each, with 4 eggs, 5 pounds of hamburger, 3 bunches of green onions chopped up, all mixed in there, with 1 cup of rice, and 4 large spoons of oil. Like I said, I put all the dry ingredients in with the liquid, with the eggs, just to help moisten the dry ingredients. And then I will proceed to put the hamburger in, and the rice, and the onions, and just voila. Just to get the filling started. I'm going to put this all together, all the ingredients, and I'll show you what it looks like after I add all the ingredients. I mixed all the ingredients, and this is what we look like for our filling. It's approximately, this is 5 pounds of hamburger. Get in the light there, there you go. So this is our filling for the domadas. Now we'll move on to the cabbage. Now, when we do the cabbage, you got 1 whole head of cabbage. Just 1 whole head. What you like to do on starting the cabbage, you take your knife and you cut the stem off. I'll show you right here. I'll just cut it off. Okay. Now you're going to have some leaves that will fall off. Save them, and I'll show you what we'll use the outer leaves for. We'll set these aside. Okay, what you want to do is take your knife, cut down around the center, all the way around. Kind of have to go around in a circle. The key is to take out the core of the plant. Once you go around the stem of the cabbage, you pull out the core, like pull it out, like that. You end up, you can see inside the cabbage, it's all white where the core of the cabbage is. The key here is take your knife and carve out the inside of the white core. So you want it to look like this. You want like a hole in there. So you carve that all out. And the reason being is when we put it in our casserole, our kettle here, we want to submerge it underwater. So you want enough water in your pot to cover your head of cabbage. Now, I'm not going to cook it, I'm just blanching it. The reason why is when we go to fill our domadas with the filling, when we're making the domadas, you want the vein here not to do this. Crack. You do not want that to happen. You want to keep the leaf soft. So this is what we call blanching in the restaurant industry. So we're just going to cook them until they get tender. Not full all the way, but just enough to get the tender, to get this vein of the leaf nice and soft. So I'm going to go ahead and boil and blanch my cabbage leaves. We got our water boiling. We got our cabbage. And what you want to do, I already got some leaves floating in here. You take your cabbage and spin it around in the water. What you'll see how the leaves are they just kind of fall off the head? That's what you're looking for. You just want to spin that around like so, and you start getting some leaves will eventually start coming off the cabbage. I'll poke it and I'll spin it around, get some of that hot water around there. And that's what you're looking for. Now, like I said, this is called blanching. We're not cooking the leaves. We're just letting them sit in the water for a little bit and let them cook a little bit. Just enough to get this vein. this vein right here on the side. We want that whole vein to soften up a little bit. We're not going to use the whole vein. I'll show that to you later when I start filling the leaves up. Now with the grape leaves, you don't have to worry about it. They're usually young grape leaves if you buy them in the store in a jar. Usually the vein in the grape leaves are real tender. But in this case, we're using cabbage. You have to soften this vein up in the cabbage leaf. So as this is blanching, I'll spin this again, you'll see what I'm talking about. The leaves will just, there they go. See how that leaf just came right off? And that's why it's important when you take the head of cabbage, when you take your whole head of cabbage, that you carve it out in the center so the leaves can fall apart. You can just, I can do the outer leaves like this right now and just pull it. But as it gets down closer to the center of the cabbage, it's hard to pull them apart. So the whole point here is blanching these leaves and getting them nice and tender in the warm, hot water here. And that's the whole basic concept of blanching your leaves. Now we have our cabbage been boiled and blanched. Now we get starts rolling and stuffing our cabbage leaves or grape leaves. Same concept for cabbage and grape leaves and rolling and tucking, and I'll show you how to do that. First of all, this is what it looks like cooked. This is what I was talking about, the vein, be able to flex that. I don't know if you can see that, but I can flex that all the way down without snapping it. So that's the key thing. First you take your cabbage leaf, and if you notice after you boil them, they're kind of still taking the shape of the roundness of the cabbage. So you want to lay that flat down. Now in the restaurant I use I guess you want to call this like an ice cream scooper or a melon scooper, but I guess you can use a tablespoon. Now I don't like to overfill my rolls with too much meat, so I'll take about a tablespoon of meat, good heaping tablespoon, about like that. I don't know if you can see that. I don't have a light. So you start at the end of the leaf, put the vein of the leaf away from you and open it up. Now I like mine with this proportion. I like it with a little bit more cabbage than meat. Some people like to overstuff them, put a little bit extra meat. So I'll put a little bit of meat and you fold it over, roll it once, and then you bring the outside leaves, tuck it in like so, and bring the other side in like so. Now you got this big vein here. You don't want that now. The reason being why you don't want this vein, you don't have to do this with grape leaves. This is very bitter, and it's soft, but it's very bitter to the taste. So I'll roll it all the way up to that vein where it starts to get thick, and I'll take my little paring knife and I'll cut that out. Now I'll save this for later, and I'll show you how I use that. So there's your first cabbage roll, or domadas. Same thing, I'll show you again. You open up the leaf, and I'll use a scooper this time. One big heap scoop, like so. And once you get the hang of it, you can do it real fast, but for illustration purposes, I'm just showing you how to do this. And like I said, I don't like a lot of meat in it. I like the more cabbage flavor than meat, but it's your preference. You can put more meat in. Okay, the meat's in. You roll it over once, like so. The meat's tucked in there. Okay. Now, you can tear some of the leaf down like this down the vein. There's different ways of doing this. And then you can tuck it in without tearing the leaf. The whole concept is not to tear the leaves so the meat don't come out. So now I just tuck them on the roll the sides over, like so, fold it in, and then roll it. So it'll be like 2.5 rolls, and then cut that vein off, just like so. And I'll move it right along here. We'll just start doing it. Scoop it like so. Because I have so many tamales to make now. Roll it. Now I'll cut that vein. Save that cabbage. You can just cut the vein out like that. I usually do. Boom, boom. Roll, 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 roll. Just like so. Now when you get to the, like, let me grab some of these. I'll show you something. Grab a few of these. Now when you get down to the smaller parts of the head of the cabbage, the leaves are going to be smaller. So you're going to say, how in the heck I'm going to roll a roll like that? So what I do is I cut out the vein, like so. Since these are too small to make a domada, just cut out the vein and you got the leaf. Now, these are real small leaves from the center of the head. Now I got 1, 2, there. I just kind of shingle the cabbage leaves. Just shingle them just like that. Now you got a nice leaf. Nice big leaf. You just shingle them across. Take your meat accordingly, like so. And then just wrap it. And then you got the second shingle. Wrap it. There's the third. Fold it. Fold it. Like so. And then you just wrap it. And there you go. A little. That's how you do the small leaves of the cabbage. Because when they get to be this small, you really can't work with it. So you just want to lay it down, like I said, and shingle them to make one big leaf. We're done finished wrapping our cabbage rolls. And I'll take a shot of it right now so you guys can see. I have a whole pile. I probably got about 50 or 60 or more cabbage rolls. We're going to place those in the kettle, but first we're going to save some of the stock, the cabbage that we boiled. There's some cabbage stock. I'm going to save about 4 cups. I already poured it in here. We want 4 cups, 1 quart of liquid of cabbage stock. We have our pot. Now, this is important when we're doing laying these in the pot. When we take our rolls and you roll them, the bottom end has to be facing down, the stem part, when we rolled it. So we lay them against the side of the pot. Like I said, here's the bottom, how it's rolled. So you want them laying flat in the bottom, so that won't cause it to open up as they cook. But before I do that, I always like to take the extra leaves on the very outside of the cabbage when I first cleaned them. I save them, I line them up in the bottom just for the fact that they don't stick or burn. And if they do stick or burn, it's going to be these leaves. Plus, it also gives more flavor into the stock. So I'll lay these down there in the bottom. I smash them down in there like so. Now we just take the tomatas and lay the wrapped ends tucked under towards the back of the pot. And I'll go all the way around and line the whole pot on the outside first. Just like so. Like I said, they have to be tucked under so they don't open up as they cook. They hold their shapes. So as I go all the way around, I fill the inside, then I start on the inside circle. Just circle it around like so. I'll finish this up and show you what it looks like when it's completed. I lined the whole pot in a circle pattern all the way around and in the center of our domadas. Now, I saved the stems, all the hard part. Now I'm going to use that on top of this. But first I'm going to add my chicken broth. We have 4 containers of chicken broth that we're going to submerge right now. So we'll empty the contents. There's one. And we'll also add our stock too while we're at it. Our cabbage stock. That'll give it some more flavor, as I call it. Gotta have that flavor. Like so. I'll try to do this quickly. Like I said, this will feed about 8 to 10 people or more. They should have second servings. That'll be about probably about 4 or 5 domadas for each person. All right, that covered the whole top. Now they're gonna float. Now that's why I use these stems and pieces that I use. This will also add stock too, but this will hold it down. Put that right on top. Spread it around and just kind of press it to get the air out. And there you go. Now as they cook, they're going to rise up a little bit. This will help keep them down. Now you want to cook this on medium high. You don't want to bring it to a boil and then turn it down to medium high, and you just want them to simmer for at least about an hour. At least an hour, hour and 15 minutes at the most. You don't want to really overcook it. You don't want to dry out the meat. You just don't hard boil it. That'll just dry it all out and it'll make the cabbage shred. You don't want that. Our domada has been cooking in our chicken broth and our cabbage stock for an hour now. And the next thing to do is we need to drain the chicken stock, our stock, into a bowl, which I have right here. So I'm going to drain the stock out of this into this bowl, and then I show you the next step to make the sauce. Now we're getting ready to do the egg alumna sauce. All the broth is drained out. It's right here, and I'm going to set this on my center island. Very hot. Very hot. So, now I'll show you the procedures on making the lemon sauce, or egg alumna, or avellana sauce. You're going to need a mixing bowl, and what you're going to do is the remaining eggs, 8 eggs left. You separate the eggs, whites, and the yolks. You want them separated, and I already have done that here. So I have my egg whites and my egg yolks, salt and pepper, and I went ahead and I squeezed the 5 lemon. That gave me exactly 1 cup of lemon juice. And the first thing you need to do is just add all your egg whites, like so. And here, I'm going to beat these until they're stiff, until it stands up. You want peaks in them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'll add 1 yolk at a time after they're stiff. And once that's all completed, I'll show you what to do next with it. So right now, I'm just going to beat the egg whites until they're stiff and add 1 yolk at a time. That way it doesn't break down the stiffness. You want to keep it nice and firm. So I'll add one yolk at a time and continuously mix and mix and mix. And I'll show you what that looks like. After the egg whites and the yolks are mixed together, you'll have these peaks, and that's what you're looking for. Nice and steady. Now the next thing to do is lemon juice. We'll add our lemon juice. Now I forgot to mention, I usually add cornstarch to this, and the reason being is I like my sauce really thick. When you serve your domadas, the sauce, you don't want it watery, won't run down. You want a nice, robust, thick sauce. So I put in already ahead of time, I got 4 tablespoons of cornstarch with my lemon juice. I just mixed it up. So we'll add our lemon juice. Just mix it on in there. Just like that. Now, once this is mixed really thorough, the lemon juice and cornstarch with the egg whites and the yolks, we have our stock here. And you want to make sure your stock is cooled down because we do not want to cook the eggs. If your stock is too hot, it will curdle the eggs, it'll cook them basically, and you'll have like lumps of curdled eggs, and we do not want that. So this has cooled down quite a bit. I'm going to mix this with my stock. I just finished mixing up the lemon juice with our egg whites and yolks along with cornstarch in it. I'm going to show you how to incorporate the sauce with the domadas. Now, I already went ahead and took out the stems and pieces that we had on top of the domadas to hold them down as they cook. So I removed them. The broth, as you know, we took that out earlier. So now, I have my avellano sauce. And what I'll do is I'll take a ladle, I'll take my commercial ladle, and I'll slowly start adding it in around the sides first. There will be juice on the bottom still left over, draining from the domadas, which is okay. So once I get this started, so I'll add this all the way around the sides, and then I'll get my large spoon, wherever I put it. Oops, it's right here in front of me, duh. So, and I'll go down the side. Probably better to use a spatula in this case. I won't tear the domadas. So I'll pull it away from the side so I can get let me just pour some in here. We'll just try to do this quick here. There. Try to do it quick as possible. And then just pull it away from the sides. We want that broth, the avellano sauce, to get down there to the bottom. There it goes. That's what I'm looking for. There. Now, you don't want to serve these right away. Once this sets, and that's what we have to do, is let it set. The reason being is you'll give it a chance to get the sauce to get down there into the domadas. Kind of get in there between the cabbage leaves. There we go. Let's fill that all up. Just like that. Let's do that again. Pull it away from the sides. Alright. And that's that. Now I would say let that set for 25-30 minutes. Put the lid back on. Retain its heat. Last but not least, the plating. So you just pick your domadas and put a couple, whatever your guests are hungry. Normally 3 is the typical serving. They'll fill them up for sure. Domadas. And if I didn't say it in the beginning of the video, my parents owned a restaurant in Toledo, Ohio for 40 years. And my grandmother and my grandmother and grandfather owned a restaurant in Sault Ste. Marie for over 15 years. A lot of this is all I'm second generation in this country. A lot of the recipes were handed down for me. This is my first video, obviously, for doing a recipe, and I don't have a camera person either. So I hope you enjoy it, and if you have any questions, drop me a line and leave your comments. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.